wrong stream title. Yeah. Let me pull up something so I can look at chat and not have to look at it on the screen. Okay, so if I have literally nobody to look at this, then I can't really ask anybody their opinion, so that's fine. But I have some things I can perhaps work on anyway. Oh, the phone's on auto lock. Auto lock. This is why I need to get my laptop working again. Okay. What is going on? Other than my chat is not loading. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully I'm audible. Let's see. Other way. Other way. Okay, so it's hopefully audible. Okay. Let's see. I don't really know what's going on with this thing here. I guess I'll just load the stream up and set it to chat only. Maybe then it'll load. I don't know. Doesn't seem to like me. Anyway, so I can work on stuff anyway, but I kind of have a big question about the direction to go with things. I don't know whether or not the audio is going through. And if it is, it's probably really quiet, but alright, let me look at the old thing. Yeah, that didn't give me great feedback, I don't think, but so that's part of my wondering is just whether or not the old one just didn't give enough feedback. Saying I'm offline, which is weird. Oh, I have dropped a lot of frames, so I may be offline. Am I online or am I offline? Because it's saying I'm dropping like frames like crazy. I don't know that I don't know if I am or not. So. Yeah, that'll do. Anyway, I do not know if I actually have the code for the old cursor system in here anymore. So I used to have that code, and I may have just like totally just destroyed it. So I got this toggle cursor prefab. So I do have a cursor that's instantiated. I just must be. Well, it says it's instantiated anyway. Let me see if they exist in the actual level. Let's see. I don't actually know if there is one. Yeah, there is a cursor that gets instantiated still. The cursor object is just not visible. At least doesn't appear to me. Seems like it animates, it just sets it to be invisible, so that's one thing at least. Oops. My nerves. Okay, I seem to not be dropping frames anymore, so that's good. The Twitch app has been being very weird lately, and it's kind of getting on my nerves. There we go. Okay. Seems like it's fine. My message went through. Okay, so I gotta figure out what the hell I'm doing here, because I kind of want to be able to switch between the old interface and the new interface, because the old interface was kind of like this, and you could just like back out of the cursor. And the new interface is, well, it's a direct interface. At some point I'm going to figure out how to make this make sense, but it's like more like this. Which in some ways I like, but the problem is I have some puzzles that are sort of designed not like around that. Like they're designed around having, let me get down to those puzzles. It's not really clear from those, so. 'Cause they don't work right now. The point is they don't work. I can show them in this one, I guess. So. Even these ones down here I can show. Well, camera not moving fast enough. Or maybe they don't. Maybe I haven't built them yet in this build. This is an older build, so. I wonder if anybody is even watching the stream. Like, I don't know if there's even any way to see. There's on there. Oh yeah, this is a really old build. Jeez, this is like this is the old version of this area, like part way done. That's fine. So let me look at this stuff. I feel like I should do like William and have like a separate browser that I use for streaming, just because it would be easier, because that's the thing I think about now. It's like, oh, well, I would like to open up Chrome so I can monitor the stream, but then I'm like, I've got like 20 tabs open, and I don't want to have to audit all those tabs. So as far as I know, I've got like this. Okay, so yeah, this is like what essentially I am turning off so that I don't have a cursor. But the question then I have is, what exactly all I've disabled, right? I feel like that should be a locked tile, but I don't know. I find it exceedingly weird that this says the frame rate is like 115 frames a second, but I'm getting like really weird juddering. So yeah, the cursors are still there, they just don't work. So start highlights don't work. If is panel active, I'm just wondering if I even kept any of the old code. I don't think I probably did. I also might need to just pull this out into its own separate thing, because this is like checking, like this basically checks to see if it's solved. I guess that's fine. I can just do like this. But I used to have the old version of the code. So now it's somewhere here. I don't know exactly where, but somewhere here we've got old version of the code. So that's all the drawing code. I think, yeah. Hello, Offender7. Hey, you're the first person who said anything in the chat. I don't know if you're the first person here, but, so I will ask you, because you're the only one that I know that's here at this point, for your opinion on a design kind of quandary that I'm in. I really wish that Unity would not do that every time. I don't know why it does. It's probably because I post stuff to the console when I stop running the game. Let's see, let me turn this back off, just so I don't have anything distracting. So I have an interface question, basically. I'll just start new games on these. So this is a game that I'm working on. It's called Taiji. If you haven't seen it before, essentially the way the game works is that you have these kind of panel type puzzle things, and you go around and you need to solve them. So in the case of these first puzzles, like there's not very many things you can do, and it's pretty easy to just by fiddling around figure out what the solution is, right? So the old interface works like this, right, where you have a little cursor that moves around and then you can toggle things, which is fine, it works, but it also kind of feels weird, particularly because I have two types of puzzles, or two major groups of puzzles, I guess. One works like those, and one works like this, where it's kind of like a snake type thing, where you have to move between tiles. And you can't like go back over yourself, so you have to like more or less be drawing a line. So most of the feedback that I got in testing about the puzzles in the game was pretty good, but in regards to the interface, most of the time people found it a little bit irritating to interact with. So I set about redesigning the interface. I apologize, let me see if that helps. Okay, set about redesigning the interface, and right now this stuff is broken, and it's moving to which I'm just gonna have to no clip, to basically a direct interface, right, where I just walk around and then I toggle the tiles that way. Which again is also fine, right? And then I have these type of ones where you toggle it, and then there are ones surrounding it lift up, and then you can step on them like buttons, right? I'll probably come up with a better way of tutorializing this, but essentially the thing here is these ones that are sort of the broken outline ones, you can't, like, they don't highlight when you step on them, and they do nothing when you press a button, which I probably should make a sound that's like a or something sound. I don't know. So you can only start on this particular tile, right? Like, that's kind of the point there. So that's all fine and good, right? And the question is, like, is this better? Or is the old one better? I think that they both more or less accomplish the same thing. But the difference is one is abstract and one is not exactly abstract. Like, this is more of a physical thing, right? And the big problem, which this is somewhat spoilers for puzzles, but it is what it is. I'll have to go over here because this area is off to the side. I didn't like reconnect it to the main area. So I gotta find these puzzles. Okay. So the big problem is I have puzzles that work like this, where this puzzle is like, hold on, let me turn on clipping. So this puzzle is like a wall, right? And I can't go through it. But when you solve the puzzle, then it becomes like something you can walk through. So the question is, how do I do that and also not have this abstract cursor interface, right? Because the abstract cursor interface works fine for that because, like, well, the cursor can move around on the panel, but the player can't. And I don't know exactly what the answer is of how to do that. Like for this, that puzzle's broken right now. It's not supposed to work like that. But for it seems like for some reason that updates in the background, and that's why it's like so slow. So for these kind of puzzles, it's fine, right, to have it work this way, and it's kind of nice. But for A, the abstract puzzles, and B, like the fact that I might not always want to walk around on a puzzle, it doesn't exactly work the way that I would want it to. Yeah, so that is the question, right? Why don't I just use the mouse cursor and let you just click them, right? And I can do that. I have thought about that. I've thought about like about 12 different ways of doing this, including going back to this kind of cursor, right? But I don't really like this because it's like, it is yeah, you're moving the arrow keys around to move this thing around from tile to tile, which doesn't like feel super great. It feels a little bit like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel great, right? But it does work for stuff. Like it does solve the bare minimum issue. It doesn't feel great, and I just don't know what to do with this, right? So it's like, I could make it to where you could go just click toggle them. I don't know. I think if I'm gonna do that, because that's frankly currently my only good idea other than just throwing in the towel and going back to the old method. The only way I can think of just having like you be able to click them is like they have to very obviously be different than the other ones, right? Because that's the main problem right now. I think is the two types of puzzles look the same. So like you have these where you're supposed to go and step on it and all that, and it looks the same as these, right? Where you're supposed to like toggle them. I don't think there's any puzzles in the game where it matters that you should toggle them this way. Like, it would be fine if you just mouse clicked them, right? I guess as to address the question of whether I should worry about how it feels, I think it matters at this point. I mean, you can say later, but I guess at this point, off and on, I've been working on the game for a year, so it's kind of late enough. I mean, like, if I look at the whole of the game, there's like a lot of stuff in the game already. There's like a couple hours of gameplay, so yeah, so it's maybe worth thinking about what it feels like, but it's more important than just what it feels like, because okay, I guess the thing that I should add about why this was a bad thing in particular is, like, for these it seems fine, but there already was kind of like, you go through and you've got your different, oops, god dang it, spoilers, you've got your different starting points here, right? And like, okay, I've got to find the right starting point that I can solve the puzzle at, is sort of the point here, right? So you already kind of had this play on what you're doing here, where you're like, all of a sudden realize, oh wait, like I can walk in here and then I can start at any of these positions, right? That was sort of one of the first moments that I designed that was kind of interesting, right? But then this feels really weird to do this, right? To be like, okay, I start here, but then I'm still like drawing this. Like, why am I not just like walking on the panel, you know? Like, that feels strange. And so I think that's the main reason that anybody who played this would think, like, why am I not just like walking around and doing the thing? Is because you have these panels where you do walk around and have to like draw lines, right? So when you're walking around and then like, okay, I'm gonna like draw a line, it just feels really strange to do that. Let's see. Could I have those two types of puzzles actually have different methods of interaction? One you use the cursor or the mouse, the other you actually step on. Yes, that's kind of what I'm thinking, right? Is maybe I should do that. But then it becomes a question of visually, how do I differentiate between those? And how do I make that not confusing? Because I don't want you to, like, this has been a problem for a while. Like, I don't want you to come up to a panel and not know actually even how to interact with it and just have to try one or the other and be like, well, I guess I can't get to it, so I click it, right? And you could say, okay, well, maybe you can click all the panels, but then it doesn't really feel right to enforce this type of movement if I can just like click, because then it's like, do I click and drag? Do I have to do that? How do I visually indicate that you have to do that? Then why do I even have an avatar? That's kind of an open question there. So it's like I can split them up, and it might make sense to do that. But it does feel kind of messy in a way. Let's see. If I want the fact that there are two different types of puzzles to be a focal point of the game, maybe it's okay to have two different types of interactions. Maybe part of that's visual. Like, there's no feedback to the player to indicate whether the character should be walking on them or just clicking on them. Yeah, there isn't right now. There isn't right now. Like, that's part of the problem. And it's not that I have zero ideas of how to approach that. It's just that I don't know what's a good idea. Because I kind of have to... Yeah, I mean, like, that is kind of a focal point of the game, that there's two different ways of interacting with these panels. I could have other ways of interacting with them, but I just haven't done it yet, right? But it definitely feels like toggling is totally different, and I don't know that you need to have your character moving around to do that, right? You know, and I could solve it with just verbally telling the player, like, hey, like, click on this panel or whatever, right? I'm just not sure how to do that. Like, that's kind of part of what I'm thinking about. It's just like, how do I communicate to the player the difference between the things? How do I make it a clear difference? And then furthermore, I kind of have a higher level idea when I'm thinking about if you're clicking on things, like clicking on the tiles to toggle them, it sort of makes sense that you should be able to click on other things, right? Outside of these panels, and that be something involved in the game, but I don't exactly know how that is. Obviously, it feels like the visual language can represent that. But I'm not sure how yet. I mean, work on making them feel more natural and have visual distinctions. The moment the visuals of this are so simplistic to the point where it's not going to be easy to create visual distinctions. Ow. I just hit my knee under the table. Yeah, one of my ideas that I've had for a while, which could work, I'll just, I guess, Photoshop this so that I have some kind of way to show what I mean. Oops. So one of my ideas, let me crop this in. Was more or less to have things that are like 1 pixel width or whatever. So you would have kind of your standard tiles, and then also you would have like your, I don't even know, there's probably some way to do this. Let's try border at 1 pixel. And the other thing is color, I suppose, to fiddle with. So, like, that's a possible distinction, in a sense, is to have, like, things that are, like, that, or whatever, where it's, like, a high-resolution type thing. I also thought about that they could be, like, kind of wireframey type or something even. Like that's a pretty strong visual distinction between the two types of panels if you're going to have them work that way, right? Just to say, well, these ones are like this and those ones are not. Now, more than that, I'm not really sure what you do, but let's say that that's how they work. That's a possibility. Let's see. No, it doesn't really hinder the puzzle design for me to just say, well, these ones, like I've done that for the longest time, right? Even in the old version, it was just kind of like, well, you walk on it and then you activate it and then you figure out which it is, because like that works fine just for testing. But it is stuff that I need to think about to a certain extent. I mean, this is not the art style of the game. This is just prototype art, right? Like, this is just what I could do to test the game. So there are some puzzles that have more developed art because they involve having more developed art. Like, there's a whole area here that's just puzzles that involve having, like, more developed art. So, no, it's not supposed to be an abstract-looking game. I've been doing some art tests. I've been doing art tests, actually, the past couple of weeks. Fiddling with things, seeing what I want to do. I did have this idea about doing the game in grayscale and then having color things be things you could click on or something. I don't know if that makes it too obvious that other color things you can click on, but you know, you could have a distinction that way between like the colors or not. But I mean, if you don't think that it's a problem, if you think that it's just an issue of how I communicate that, and that I should just basically tell the player, like, oh, like, you can click on this thing, Yeah, I mean, I'm liking it too. I'm liking the art tests. So, some of this I don't like as much. Particularly out of all of these, I really don't particularly like any of the looks of these panels. But they were a bit of a move away from the current look to try some different things. But yeah, so that's kind of the question, really. There is like I like having panels that you actually walk around on, but I also have the issue, which I guess that's the thing that I maybe failed to even mention. I have the issue that some of those panels that I kind of need an abstract interface for are also these snaky type panels. I guess I don't actually know that for certain, so maybe I should check just to make sure, but it does constrain that, at least. I suppose that's not the end of the world either. I can still just like visually communicate that with some sort of symbolism, like if you think about the snake panels, if you think about the snake panels, I could have it where these pop up and there's like an arrow on each of them or something. And so that could be a thing, even if you clicked it, that the arrow would come up, and so you'd know, well, I have to click one of these or something, right? So I guess it's not the end of the world to do that. Let's see. Alright, let's see. My gut ideas have things that you physically walk on look like they belong in that environment, like if the area is grassy and the tiles you actually walk over are kind of grassy or woody. And to have all the clickable ones just be either totally abstract, like the witness boards, or stand out in the environment and clearly aren't a natural part of it. This character physically walking everything is inherently a more environmentally based mode of interaction compared to clicking on them, which is inherently the opposite of that. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think the abstract interface of clicking is necessarily bad. It is just a question of, like, how do I make something stand out in particular? Like, you know, like this testing here, it's like, well, I can do something that's like a thing, right? But it kind of looks weird too to have like different pixel sizes. Like, that's always the thing that bugs me. Everything's coming up on my other monitor because like that's my main monitor right now, but yeah. I guess the only thing that's the real problem is that the only thing that's the real problem is that I need to know, like, I feel like I need to make the right decision, right? And that impacts a lot of things. And in particular, the thing that is the big thing, that's been a big question for the longest time, is if I move to a cursor-based interface where it's like I can click anything that's on the screen, right? Or it's like I can just move the mouse around and click, click, click. Or if you're on a controller, you use like the right stick and it moves like a cursor around, and then you can click on things. It just starts to make sense that I should be able to click on other things, right? And I don't know. Maybe it is less of a problem. Maybe it is more of just a thing in my head, but I don't know. I guess I can code that up, though, to where I can click on them. At least do that. So that I have something going on. Let's see. Let me look in the... Well, again, I gotta bring up Chrome, which has got like a million tabs open. Maybe I should download Firefox or Opera or something. Oop. Okay. I hate to do that. That probably like really killed the stream too. Alright, well, whatever. We'll get that in a minute. All the while, like, crap is loading and who knows what's gonna happen. Let me close that. I know I don't need that. And that's later. Okay. So, hold on. So, I need to look at the Unity docs.
Library in C?
Did I literally not just pause that? Jesus. Anyway. Okay, let's see. Maybe you could do a puzzle mode type thing where you can't use the mouse anywhere except for when you are in those puzzles. But then, again, only be able to use the mouse for certain parts of the game is often a bad idea in terms of the game. Maybe keyboard-based clicking is best. The only other thing I can think of is maybe I just make it like a point-and-click game, right? But then that always feels a little weird too. But if I just click and then the character walks there, and I click, the character walks there, and I can click on these two. I could do that and just make it a point-and-click adventure game instead of a walking around type. I'm not too worried about the sense of like that I need to constrain it to where you can only click in the panel. That's like the opposite of the type of game design that I like to do, right? It more just is a question of, is it only going to be the panels that you click on or not? And I feel like if it's not, that's a good way to, have some sort of secret in the game, kind of like The Witness does, right? With that same concept. But what is that? Because I don't know any way I can like hide panel-y type things in plain sight in the game because it's a 2D game. So you just kind of see it, right? I mean, I can have certain things like, okay, well, it's like a window, like in this shop, and that turns out it was actually a panel or something, right? Yeah, point and click. No, I think point and click movement is kind of a bad idea too, because I think it just doesn't feel very good. It's like just strange. It's just a strange choice to make. It's like, why do I need to do that? So it's probably better to just have it to where it's like you can point and click on panels, but then it does just become a problem of visual distinction, which I appreciate your faith that I can solve the visual distinction problem, even though I've worked on the game for like a year and it's still a problem. And now it's just a bigger problem. I think I do feel better from just having discussed it a little bit that maybe that is really the only problem, is just a visual distinction between what you can click on and what you can't click on. And instead of being a problem of should it be a thing that I'm always clicking on them, or should it be always a physical interface, I think that it's probably doable. Okay, so I was going to look at... I really don't. I haven't done much stuff with like mouse cursor things, so I figure I need to get like a mouse cursor position or like world position. These are not the things I'm looking for. Pixel coordinates. Okay. So yeah. Seems like the most basic thing to do is to literally just go like do a raycast here. No, I mean, really, that's how I feel, right? Is it's been a thing that, a big quandary that I got stuck in like last year, and I decided to take a break and work on this witness essay, which ended up ended up being its own project and a half. And I sort of reached a quandary on that this week. And so I thought, well, it's for some reason in my mind, I guess, when it's like, if I'm in a quandary on both these things, I would rather work on the game than work on a video about someone else's game. Not that I don't want to finish that video essay. It's just, it was kind of difficult to have like a 4-minute, have like an 8-minute video and then cut 4 minutes of it, because it turned out that I was like getting majorly lost in the weeds, and it was not very good. But yeah, I like to focus on the puzzle game design. I just got stuck on this thing of, I had someone playtest the game, and they were extremely negative on the interface, and I felt like it. Normally, I would kind of just ignore something like that, where it's like, well, you know, they don't like the interface, whatever. But they were so negative on it, and the things that they pointed out, I felt like were things that I didn't like about it either. I just kind of was not worried about. But I realized that I was designing puzzles in the game that were dependent on the interface type. And so I probably needed to actually think about it at an early stage if I was going to make a major change like that, because like that's 90%. Yeah, I'd say that's like 90% of the gameplay of the game is the interface with the puzzles, right? So it's, if I change that, then it that ripples through the design of the puzzles, it ripples through the whole design of the game. On mouse down event. Yeah, I just need to basically I just need to click. I don't know that I need. I'll just do this and put get mouse position, because I need to basically raycast it or something and figure out roughly which tile I'm looking at, which is unfortunately not the easiest thing. Seems like basically this is what I need, though. Because I need to have this, so I don't necessarily need that right now. I just need to do a raycast from mouse position, mouse ray. Oops. I meant to do mouse ray for the name of it. So, okay. I do some raycasts already here for this stuff, where I figure out what tile you're on. So it's basically the same thing. I just need to do it for the cursor. I don't know whether I should put this stuff in player. I might put it in player, but it really doesn't matter right now. I just need to hack it in and get it to work. Yeah, where is this? Let's see. That's all the collision code. I'm looking for this overlap point. Okay. Yeah. So basically I need this. I'm just gonna put it in here for now. I'll probably put it in player in a minute. But so I need to figure that out and then instead do this as like this, I guess. Okay. I'll see what that looks like. Hey, William. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, I haven't done any game dev streams in a while. I did a little bit of art streams for the game, but let's see. Fender said, my game is, or your game is eerily similar to a game I've been working on for a friend for more than a year. Also happen to be making Unity. How is it similar? Is it just like toggling tiles and stuff? We rating. Let's see. What is the problem here? Oh, I don't. Okay, I'll just move it over to the player then, because why not, right? I mean, it seems kind of more player related to send the message here, so. Will that work? No. Best overloaded method match. Has some valid arguments. What's wrong? Oh, this is making it array. Okay, can I do like a screen point to world point? Is that possible? Camera. I mean, I'll be happy to look at your game if it's similar. There's a lot of games that I've found that are similar to this game, but it's not really like a surprise because tile-based puzzle game is like a whole entire genre or two. Hello, Fiery Drake. How's it going? I guess I have some people in here, so maybe I should ask those people about my quandary, even though I feel like I've more or less been able to figure out that it doesn't matter as much as I thought it did. But first I should probably solve this bug so I can actually play the game. Let's see. Because what was that thing I called? Because I was like, screen. Okay, so screen to world point is a function. I'll just call that world point. So that should work. There's always errors. Okay. Probably need to like be. Okay. That doesn't seem to be working. That's fine. So that brings me back to my thing that I was going to bring up, which is that I'm kind of in somewhat of a quandary about what the right way is to proceed with the design of the game. Okay. So I'm working on this game. It's called Taiji. It's sort of like an exploration type puzzle solving game. And the primary mechanic of the game is that you have these puzzle panels that are these grids of tiles, and each tile can either be on or off, basically, and you just have to get it into the right state to solve the puzzle. Let me minimize that so maybe this runs a little better. So you just have to get into the right state in order to solve the puzzle, right? And these are like tutorial puzzles, so all you have to do is like turn them all on. There's also this other kind of main category of puzzle that's the same, but your cursor's constrained to where you can only like draw a line. You can't like go back over yourself. It's like you just have to move through it. So like in this case, you can't even go over these because those are already lit up. All right, so that's fine. It didn't have a name at that point. It was still, I believe, called. Well, the project's still called Tile Map Importer, I think. Yeah, Tile Map Importer. But at that point, I was just calling it ZG because I just didn't necessarily know what I wanted to call it, or even when I thought of the name Taiji, I still wasn't sure whether that's a good name. Now I kind of like the name, so I'm just going to go with it. So, the quandary comes in is that this abstract cursor-based interface sometimes feels kind of bad and janky. That's sort of hard to illustrate on the stream exactly, but for one thing, there are also these panels where you can go and any of the tiles on the panel is like a start point, right? Which sort of already is weird, but whatever. It kind of begs the question, though, why you can't just walk around on the panel and just do it that way. So I haven't like redesigned the starting area exactly, but that's kind of the major change I made, right? Is that now you just like walk around to do those types of puzzles, right? So you're just pressing down the tiles that way. The quandary that I had is then what do I do for these, and what do I do for puzzles that I don't want to have on the floor? Because I can do it this way. But it's just a little weird, and the question is, like, if I'm going to have them on a wall, then I can't really walk on them, so what do I do exactly? The other aspect that's a problem in regards to that is that I have to bear with me for a second while I travel down here to this area where some of these puzzles are. But I have some puzzles that they start out as like a solid wall. So like the puzzle panel itself is kind of like a wall, and then you solve the puzzle and it becomes like walkable, right? Like this part you can now walk through, and the other stuff is a wall. And that doesn't really necessarily work with you walking around on the panel. Like you can't walk around on it and also it be solid. So it sort of worked off of it being abstract. So the question is like whether it's just a bad idea to have moved away from the abstract cursor interface at all. And the other question is, which me and Offender, who was the only person in the chat at the time that I talked about it, have talked about a little bit, is whether it's okay to just have two types of puzzles. One type of puzzle being the kind that you walk around on and do stuff, and one type of puzzle being one that you use probably basically just the mouse and just click on them and toggle them. Because that's really the only thing I can think of to do that doesn't seem really weird and bad. So, I don't know. It's not a huge issue, I don't think, just because I kind of can keep going with just make a decision and let's see where it leads, but I tend to end up in analysis paralysis, and so I've kind of been sitting on the game for about 6 months while I did another project that's still not done, because it ended up taking a lot longer than I thought and has its own quandaries. But anyway, long story short, I just don't know necessarily what's the right way to proceed. and I guess I should just proceed anyway, even though I don't know what's right, but that's kind of hard to do. Mighty Rabbit Studios says I could have a secondary character, which I thought about. You could basically just have a little Navi type fairy thing that's your cursor that can go up and hit the things, which is probably fine. I don't know. That's, as I said before, it's somewhat less of a quandary just because I'm feeling like maybe I should just do it any way that I can do it and not worry so much about whether or not it's the best way. You have a laser. I mean, it's not so much that I feel like it needs to be a not abstract thing. Like, that's not the problem. The problem was not that it was an abstract interface. The problem was that the particular abstract interface I had didn't feel very good because you kind of moved from tile to tile, and that just sort of felt bad, especially because you're kind of using the same keys that you use to move the character, and so you have to go into a mode where now you're moving this cursor around physically, and it doesn't feel as good as moving the character around. And then you have to go back out of that mode. So, I don't know. There are a lot of things factoring in there, and I'm not sure that it was the end of the world to do it that way, but I don't know. Some of my feedback from testing the game was definitely that it didn't feel good. I need a debug log. Hit a thing. I don't know. Let's see. Cursor, hit a thing. Why is it saying unexpected symbol test? Oh, I forgot a semicolon. Yeah. That's like the secondary problem, right? Is that having the separate types, having the separate types of puzzles definitely makes it feel like I should definitely makes it feel like they need to be very visually distinct. At least Offender, in discussing it with him, didn't seem to think that that was the worst problem to have, and I've kind of already thought about it somewhat, in that maybe I'll just have like black and white for most of the game, and color things or things that you can like click on, which opens up the possibility for other things that you could click on that might do things, and is a distinct enough visual language to where it's not really confusing what you can and can't interact with, because that's more my concern then, is like if I'm going to have you moving a cursor around and just like clicking on things, it needs to be very clear what you can and can't click on. Otherwise, you're just going to be clicking around on everything, which is fine if everything did something, but since I think most things in the game are probably not going to do anything if you click on them, it probably wouldn't be a good thing to do. Let's see. I like the idea of different types of games, says Fiery Drake. Currently I only have the two main types, which is the snake type and then just the toggling type, right? I can obviously have all kinds of different types of things, but those were the only ones that I felt really good and didn't feel bad, because I could obviously have something where I toggle like one square and it also toggles all the ones around it, right? Like kind of like lights out or something. That was like the first prototype mechanic I ever did. But then it ends up being there's most most of the time you can create most states on the panel and it just becomes an interaction barrier for the thing. So like if all I was doing was trying to fill it up, then it's like, okay, that's a certain type of puzzle. But if I'm trying to input a specific solution, which is like most of the puzzles in the game are about just like figuring out what's the thing that I need to put on the panel, then it's not that interesting. So well, I guess it's not that it's not interesting. It's just that, like with the snake thing, it's the way you solve them. You're like, okay, I know I need to put this, but I'm also constrained by this interaction method, right? But with weird types of toggling, the constraints are more weird, and it's hard to tell, okay, can I make this shape? And so you might spend a lot of time trying to make the shape and not really knowing whether or not you can, or it's impossible. I don't know. That's just kind of my thoughts on that. But yeah, the abstract input thing, definitely one of the more interesting things was the idea of like, okay, if it's abstract, then I can have like when you solve the puzzle, it turns into walls or something like that, or turns into not walls. I guess is sort of how I did it. Or it could be walls, right? You could do it the other way, where like when you solve it, like it raises up and then it's a bridge or something. About weird feeling of walking on walls. I don't know that it's actually like a weird feeling that bothers me about it. It's just it makes more sense for them to be on the floor if you're going to be walking on them, right? Unless I add a mechanic that allows you to walk up on a wall. You know. And then that's a whole nother mechanic to add to the game that I have to justify having it in there. Like, it can't just be in there for you to interact with panels, right? Like, then that's just the way I am as a designer. Like, if I'm gonna make something where like I can press a button and now I can walk up on the wall, like I flip around and fall onto the wall or something, and now I'm looking at it like the opposite way or something, then like that's got to be a whole cool aspect of the game anyway. And since I don't have any particular grand ideas for doing that, and I'd also like to keep the scope of the game fairly small, I just don't think that's the right thing. Anyway, I appreciate everybody's input on that. Let's see. Oh, okay, I guess I missed one thing. Going down second character route, maybe multiple characters for different puzzle types. Fairy-like thing has different rules of movement than the gremlin type thing. Okay. Yeah, you could do that. I don't know that I would rather do that exactly. Gets heat vision, only uses it for making toast. What? Okay. Alright, so I need to get this cursor working, and I'm not sure exactly why it's not. I probably need to debug the position there. So let's try like mouse world position. Three. Okay, I need debug. How does that work again? I don't remember all my debug drawing things. Started to like ruin my voice by talking more than working. Oh, okay, yeah. Walking on walls, I'll use it for... Yeah, exactly. Like, I can't... I can't give you a magical power unless it's magical, right? And it's like, it's fine if your magical power is you can interact with these panels from any distance, right? And if you can see them, you can interact with them, that's fine. Or that you can click on colored things in the environment, and that does something, maybe even if they're not part of the panel, right? Like, that's cool, that's fine. But if I open up a whole big thing, a whole big can of worms with, like, okay, well, you're walking on walls, or like, then it becomes like Fez or something, where like I need to make that a core part of the game, or else it's just a weird thing there for no reason. So I guess I'll just draw a line. I'll go draw a line, and then we'll go like player. Wait, let's just be transformed up position, and then we'll draw it to mouse world position. Start end color. Okay. So we'll see what that does. Okay, of course. Of course. Screen to world point should be a vector 3, right? I guess I don't have to make a new vector 3. I can just set it to that. I am seeing like nothing. Let me try. Yeah, I may just only draw in the scene view. Okay, it's definitely like drawing, but it's coming in at a really weird spot. Like, okay, let me 2D it and see. Okay, so it's highlighting them, but I'm at totally like the wrong position. Like, why is it doing that? Oh. Oh. Okay. So does like screen to world point just like not work if you're in the editor? Or is it just like the screen and not like... Okay, so this says it goes from 0 to pixel width, pixel height. Pixel width is the camera. It's probably exchanging a Y. No, it doesn't seem like it's doing that. I don't think it's exchanging a Y for a Z component. I think it's just pulling like the actual screen, because like, for example, if I maximize this and like zoom out, of course it doesn't work because okay, so if I zoom out here, then you can see like it's actually going onto my other monitor. So it's like, it's just the screen point is what it's giving me. It's not actually giving me like this point. So but input mouse position was, as far as I know, supposed to give me bottom left of the screen or window, it says. Top right of the screen or window. It does report it anyway, but that seems really bad. Yeah. I feel like I need to do something besides use mouse position. I need to use something else. It's probably something else I'm supposed to do. But you'd think that would work, considering that's literally what they put here. Camera, main, screen point array, input, mouse position. They're like, yeah, it's like you clicked on it and it fired or something. But then, like, they don't seem to care that that doesn't actually work in their documentation. I guess I should look at the newest docs anyway, but... see, mouse clicking, Unity, I don't know. God, this is again like casting this, right? Screen point array. Screen point array. Let me try that. Let me just try screen point array and try drawing that instead. Oh, you know what it is? I'm pretty darn sure I know what it is. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty darn sure. I think it's because my camera it's not the main camera. But I'm not sure. It should be, but it might not be. I actually have a 2-camera setup. I have no idea whether that would screw it up, but I'm gonna see. I'm gonna try one thing, but because I have a 2-camera setup, and basically the first camera renders to a quad, and then the second camera looks at that quad and zooms in and out. What's a lot of camera settings? Oh, on the other camera. So I'm gonna see if I can. Okay, so it's not that, I don't think, because now it's just going further. So the fact that the zoom affects it makes me think that that's definitely not the case. Like, it's definitely doing a transform. Anyway. Oh, these camera settings volumes, yeah. That's because I use a camera settings volume for basically anytime you go to an area. It's like, it's how I control the camera, right? It's like, okay, when you step into this area, like, do these things, right? Right now, all it is sets the zoom, right? Like, I want you to zoom in or zoom out or whatever, right? Because I might want, for a specific puzzle, you might want to be zoomed in, or for a specific puzzle, you might want to be zoomed out. You might not want to be able to see, like, more than this puzzle while you're, like, in this area. So it's basically just camera controls, and so I just have them scattered about in the world, right? Anyway, so I already do something on one of these camera scripts where I'm drawing a debug thing. Yeah, camera bounds. Oh, this is surprisingly, annoyingly not working. But let's see. Screen. Isn't it screen point to array? Isn't that what it was? Ray, mouse ray, camera main, screen point to ray. Okay. That's what the tutorial said, right? Was like screen. There's also screen to viewport point. Transforms position from screen space to viewport space. What's the difference between viewport space and world space? Normalized and relative to the camera. Okay, so I'll just try that. We'll try viewport point instead of world point. Because I bet that's probably the thing I need. That's probably the thing that I need. Well, it's definitely not working. So let's see, what's the point? Okay, so now it's like not in world space. Now it's a viewport point space. So it's just, what in the hell is going on? What? What? Okay. Okay. So why? I don't really understand what is not working. I'm gonna try this ray again thing. Oh, okay, that's why it's not working, because this is not testing that point. It should be testing mouse world position. Duh. Okay. I was wondering why it was overlapping. Anyway. So, let's try... I can never remember what these things are called. It's like screen point to ray. Okay. Screen point to ray, I think. Something like that. And then we'll try input mouse position. Alright, so we'll see whether or not that works. Because if I just have to do array casts, then that's fine. Yeah, that's literally what I tried earlier with screen to world point. Okay, so you're zeroing the Z. No overload method for draw array takes one argument. Okay. Alright, so I can't draw array unless I guess I set what? Start direction. But I can't just draw it with array. Is there not just like a draw function to call on array? Apparently not. Apparently I need to go. Okay. Cursor array. I'll try that in a second. I'm just trying to see where does this draw array to? Okay, that also seems to not properly work. So it seems like it's drawing like 0, 0 seems like, I think, is right there of the world origin, which is the center of the screen. So it's doing it relative to the center of the screen. Why is it doing it relative to the center of the screen? Okay, so it is doing it. Okay, I see. Yeah. It's because of my camera. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do some funkiness because of my weird camera setup. Because the camera's not actually... I don't know why I didn't even think about this. That's just me being stupid because I haven't looked at the code in so long. Let me see. Okay, off-screen buffer. This is what the camera, the main camera is looking at, which is hard to tell because the Z fighting, but there's a a tile-based thing. Like I said, it gets rendered onto a quad. It's looking at that quad. It's not looking at the world. So I'm gonna have to manually construct it based on the camera position and yeah, that's basically all I need to do is just take this and then offset it by the camera position. I guess, I think. Yeah. So that should work. I just have to... I don't know why I wasn't thinking that. So I need pre-pass camera's position. I'm not sure exactly where I store the camera position and all that, or if the player has a reference to the camera. I do have a camera settings volume information, but I don't actually seem to have... I don't think the camera information here. I think that's all in here. So that's my bounds in the camera. Camera info. Camera info. So where's camera info? Camera, must have made camera info like a global thing. Yeah, okay, so I just literally have a static for the camera info. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, it seems like it works fine. It seems like the point is just that the camera position is not what it appears to be. Like, the objects are not necessarily where they appear to be based on the camera position. Like, the camera is not where it is. Does that make sense? Like, the camera is... Where am I looking at that? Okay, so the camera is like here. Right. And it's looking at the player here, but that's actually a quad, and so it's right here where the player is actually right here in the world, right? And that's because I have a subpixel shader for the graphics, so that the camera can move with subpixel smoothness, but still be still have sharp edges on the pixels. So like if I want to, zoom in and all that, I still have like sharp edges on the pixels, but you can see that like the camera can move subpixely. There's a little bit of jittering, but that's just the stream. So because I wanted to be able to zoom in smoothly and zoom out smoothly and have pixel art look good. That's how I decided to implement it. So even though I'm looking at the object and it's like tracing the point through the screen, it's not adjusting it. So I have to do that. I need to do this, and then I need to go plus camera info dot position. Like that's mouse world position. I guarantee it. Guarantee it so much, I don't even think that I need to do a debug draw, because I'm almost certain that that's it. And it isn't. It's probably just math. It's probably the maths, but we can do a. Let's get that debug draw line back in there. So we'll see where it is. Okay, the problem there is it's not the right size. The screen to viewpoint point. So the ray actually worked kind of better. Screen point to ray. So we'll just go to that origin, maybe. Isn't that what it was? Screen point to ray. Camera dot screen point to ray. Okay. So that should theoretically offset it. Yeah. Hey, look. It works. It works. That shouldn't have been that difficult, but it works. So now the only thing I don't have is the ability to just toggle them. Alright. It looks like the position's a little bit off from the mouse, though. At least to me. I feel like that may just be, it may have to do with the subpixeliness of it, but I'm not sure. So let's 2D that and see where it is drawing it. Huh, interesting. Because here it looks right, but there it doesn't, so I must be doing something else weird. Yeah, I'm consistently off, but I'm not sure why, because the ray looks fine. Like when I look at here, I'm going to have to unmaximize it. I just need to turn that off. So when I look at it there, like, it's not like, I can't point at the thing, but it's not like over here, the ray is not at my mouse position. It is. It's just like what it's actually getting there is wrong. I don't know why that is. Feels like it just needs an offset or something. Let me look and see what the is stood on does. Step on somewhere. It's not in that object, is it? It's in it's this one. Is stood on, step on, it's panel active, stood on. feel like there's anything wrong with it. Just don't know why is it off that much? It's like off by half a tile, which is very strange. It's like I'm literally testing the same point. Okay. Maybe I should just do a ray test. Physics. I don't know whether that's going to work. Ugh. Yeah, raycast won't take a ray. I don't know why I forget these things. I can insert breakpoints and step through code in Visual Studio if I wanted to. I just don't actually consider it that much problem. So this needs a raycast hit 2D. Okay. Test ray. That's equal to test ray dot collider. I think that's the way it works. It's not like physics. Raycast hit 2D. I don't know. Let's see. Physics. Raycast. Isn't there one that returns the object? I thought there was one. Physics 2D, raycast hit 2D. I just typed it wrong. I did. Okay. As far as I know, that should work as far as doing an actual raycast. Whether or not that's going to do any differently, I don't know. It doesn't seem to. In fact, it seems like it's not actually working properly. Okay, that's irritating. I am going to get some water. Okay. So, Raycast 2D, yeah, it has a collider. Raycast scheme point Ray. Ugh. I don't want to add just a magic offset to it when it looks like it should be right. Like, it looks like it should be right. Unless there's a magic offset somewhere else, which is possible. I'm just gonna stick with this because that was close. I don't think there's a magic offset, but there could be a magic offset to the camera. So I should probably look and see that there's not a magic offset to the camera. I bet that's it. I bet that is probably it. But I don't know. We're going to see. Okay, so it's not that. So perhaps it has to do with this. I bet it does, but it's got to do with the oblique projection. No, it doesn't appear to, because it actually makes it worse. If I turn the oblique projection off, it's worse. It's worse. Then it's off by even more. Oh. No. Oh, God. Like it's definitely kind of working. I just don't know why it's not totally working. I want to die. Plus vector 3. I don't know, I feel like I'm gonna have to add a magic number to it, and I don't know why. Like, I don't like that. I do not like that by any stretch of the imagination. Adding magic numbers to make it line up, because I don't know why it's not lining up. Well, it looks like, I see now at least, it looks like the vector is not lining up. So at least there's that. Because before I thought the vector was exactly where it was on the other one, but it seems like that's not the case now. It seems like the vector is definitely... The vector definitely lines up with the panels and not with the cursor. So, the question then is whether or not the oblique projection script affects that. Doesn't seem to. So, if that's what's going on, so it seems like I'm just gonna have to add a magic thing. I'm pretty sure it has to do with this oblique projection that I'm doing. And you'll notice that everything's kind of shifting slightly. Like you see how much that's shifting. So I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Is that I need to add the exact proper offset to keep it the same, instead of just what I did, which was something that looked okay, I thought. So that should fix it, probably. Actually, changing that offset. Because I just was like fiddling with that and it didn't really mean anything. I would say now it works. It seems either exactly the same or so close that it doesn't really matter at this point. But I will maximize it just to make sure. Okay, it seems like it's still off slightly. That looks fine though, at least. I think that's lined up. Because I'm just doing an oblique projection, so if I want to do like 3D objects, then they get put into the scene properly, right? So like if I want to, for example, render a 3D thing, then I can do that, right? And it just gets put into the scene. So I might not do that for much. The only thing I'm doing it for now is because it was easier to do that for these panels. It was easier to just move them in Z, right? And just put an oblique projection so that they actually press, right? That was easier than dealing with the occlusion issue, at least for me it was. To just be like, well, I'll just move them in Z. Maybe that's a bad decision, but that's the decision I made to do. Was to just make them 3D objects. Yeah. Yeah, the offset still seems wrong. And I don't know why. Don't know why. why. Okay, that wasn't me. Unless my camera info position is wrong. That could be wrong, it's true. Oh my gosh, I just thought about something. It's possible the camera info position includes the subpixel position, and so I'm doubling the subpixel offset. As far as I know, I'd only have to floor to get that, though. That's what we'll test, I guess. I really don't want to have a random floor, but that has invalid arguments. Oh, is there a vector floor? This all seems like too much, so I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do... I don't know if there's any way I can look at camera info because it's just a static class, but... If it has... Sadly, it's something I have no idea where I even set it. It's probably set in this. Yeah. So that includes the subpixel offset. So I need camera position, my subpixel offset. So it's not really a subpixel offset, it's a subtile offset. So I need like transform position equals snapped position. See, I have a snapped position here. And then I have the subpixel offset. So I need to just do that. I just need to store the snap position. Camera info dot snap position is equal to snap position. Let's try that. Can't hurt. Is that how I did that? Yeah, okay, that's fine. So we'll try that. Because like I snap it to the tile so that it gets pixel perfect always on the quad when it renders it, but I can still move the camera around. And then I handle the sub pixel elsewhere. Okay, that doesn't seem to work either. I'm just gonna blow my brains out. This is way harder than it should be. So let's see. Let's make sure the vector is like where it is or whatever. I wish it would draw it in here, but it doesn't. I don't know why. So I have to like So that's why I did it this way. Let's see. Okay, 2D this. We can look and see exactly where it thinks the cursor is. It's about off by like one tile almost, but not. So it does seem right. It just seems off, which is weird. I'm just gonna do this and just see where like the errors, and just see where the forgot to comment that. See where the center point of the camera is according to this thing, like what this snapped position even is. 'Cause I want to know. Okay, so snapped position is definitely that, right? It's like the closest tile, right? So that's fine. So if I do position, and position should be like the center of the camera. Okay, and that looks right too. It looks like basically the center of the camera. Not entirely perfectly, but roughly that's the case. Yeah, it's pretty much right. So figuring this out is harder than I would like it to be. I'm not even sure that I have the proper extents of the screen stored. I think that I do, but I possibly do not. Okay, it looks like I do have the proper extents stored, so I could just back calculate it based on the extents and doing a raycast in like to world. So I do like, what was it, like screen point to world space or something, and then offset it by the camera, and then offset it by the size of the thing, and then clamp it based on the this is way harder than this should be. Something that might be possibly worth investigating, though, is if I look at the other camera. Is there any way I can like if I make this main camera, it doesn't work? I am not sure. I am very confused on what to do to fix this other than just add the magic number. So I guess we'll add some magic numbers and see what we get. Yay, magic numbers. Come on now. Screen, okay. Screen. I know there was like screen point. Screen point to viewport point? Or world point? I could do that. I could just do viewport space and then do based on the stuff I know about the camera. Viewport point. Yeah, you're right. I did need to capitalize. So I could do that, which gets me a viewport point that's normalized. And then I could multiply it times the bounds min. Wait, yeah, bounds min. Wait, no, it would be plus bounds min camera dot camera info dot what is it? Camera info dot min x. That's not exactly what I need, but roughly. So then I do like plus vector. New vector 3 camera info dot min x camera info dot min y. I think my girlfriend is home.
Hey.
How's it going? Streaming the frustrations of game development.
That's fabulous. That sounds like no fun at all.
Yeah, it is what it is. Let's see, and then I think I need to multiply. Wait, because this gets me normalized. So I need to multiply by camera info dot bounds dot extents. I think bounds dot size. Is that how it goes? I don't remember how bounds works. Bounds dot size. Okay. Is size just a float or is it a vector? Okay. So I need to do that multiplication. Then I need to add this. Then that should work. I don't know. Let's see. If it works. Oops. Somehow it's missed parentheses, I guess. Okay, that should be fine. If it works, then we'll call it a night, probably. What did I screw up now? Does not contain screen port to viewport point. Screen point to viewport point. Okay, I thought it did. Screen to view, excuse me. Screen to viewport point. And we can't multiply vectors, that's true. So if I want to multiply the vectors, I need to multiply component-wise, which is that a cross product or is that a dot product? I don't remember. Vector dot product. Okay, it's cross product. So let's see. Vector. See what they're. Vector3 dot cross is what I have to do. Okay, so that dot cross. Yikes! This is kind of messy looking. Yeah, that's why I'm cross multiplying it by the size of the camera so that I can get it in world units, or rather camera space units, and then I'm trying to get it in world space units by adding the camera info offsets for the lower left position of the camera. I left a asterisk there. No overload for cross takes one argument. What? Do I need vector3.cross and then I put both? Is there no vector3 like, and you take the one and then cross it with another one? I guess there isn't. Okay, so I guess I do vector3 cross, and then I take this one, and then I take this one. And then I add that. Okay. Like I said, if that works, then we'll add a to-do that's like, please make this not completely insane. It didn't work. Well, what do you know? It never works the first time. It never works the second time. It never works the 10th time. I should see what the position actually came out to be, though, because it should show up in my scene view. I do not know where it is. Is it even, like, where is it? It's supposed to be drawing from the player position. So, it must be this. It must still not be in world space. Or, whoa. What? I definitely am doing something wrong. Does cross not do what I was thinking it did? I was thinking that it would just scale it up. It seems like it's projecting it. I don't know. We'll just add another vector that's like scaled view mouse point. Mouse viewport position. And then we'll do vector3 mouse viewport position x times camera info dot bounds dot size dot x. I feel like that should work, but whatever. Okay, so that scales my viewport point, and I should be able to offset it. Should work. I feel like it. I feel it should work. What is this? Does not exist in the current viewport. Port position. Oh yeah, that needs to be it. It's called my brain is shutting down because we've been doing this for too long. How long have I been at this? Only 2 hours. Okay. Almost. It's still offset though. It's still exactly the same. It's still screwed up. I figured out how to do it through crazy math, but it's still offset. I don't know why. Okay. Well, that was fun. I still don't know why it's like not right. It's right horizontally, just vertically is where it's wrong, which is why I think it has something to do with the projection. Like horizontally, that's totally right? Like it's going boop 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 right on the money. Just vertically, it's off. But it's exactly off the same as when I did it in the one line thing that they give me. So, in that case, let's just not bother doing all this, and we'll just go back to doing what it was, right? What was that? It was like screen. It's like camera.main.screen to yeah, screen point. It was like screen point to world point. Was it a world point? So like after I figured out all the crazy math and everything, it's like exactly the same. Okay, what is it? What is it? I gotta keep looking up these camera operations and figure out what it is. It's screen point, screen. It's because they don't do point on the first one. They're like, oh, it's too many letters. Screen to world point. Okay, whatever. I'm pretty sure that was like literally the same thing as what I just did. Nope, it's not, because like I did something wrong now. So what's wrong now? Oh, I need the offset is what's wrong now. I don't have the offset again. So I gotta add the offset. So that was plus camera info dot. What was it? Snapped position? Snapped position, I think. Okay, well, we're just gonna add that to the do list and just go with this for now because it's close, and we'll be like. So first I'm gonna go to do here, and it's gonna be like fix this. Maybe just add a magic number offset. But please try to figure out why it is broken. Okay, so now I need to add that to the Trello. I'm not doing Ghost Player anymore. I'm gonna do add cursor, like mouse cursor. Okay, so that goes there, and then let's add that onto this. Let's see, fix mouse offset bug. Alright, I probably won't need to write it down because it's pretty obviously like broken, but that's fine. Alright, so I am done streaming for now. I think that that was fun and enjoyable, and seems like I have some hope for the future and less despair on this project. I just have to deal with the annoying technical issue of why it's not lining up, and it has something to do with my weird camera system, and I'm not sure. There may literally be, when I think about it, no, there isn't. The only thing here is the Z offset, so it should be fine. Should be fine. Unless the quad is... You're kidding me. You're kidding me. The quad is off. Oh, Jesus Christ. Can I lock it? Can I make it to where I can never move this thing? Is that possible? Jesus. Okay, well. I bet that fixed the bug. I bet this fixed the bug. I bet it did. Oh, nope. It actually made it worse. So anyway, it's been fun. Thanks for joining me, and we'll try to figure out what's going on with this next time. And I hope you have a good afternoon or evening or morning or wherever you are in the world. I'll see you around on the internet. Goodbye.